Well, let's bring you some more reaction about this result of the vote in Parliament. I'm going to be talking now to the Executive Secretary of the Council for the Advancement of the South African Constitution, Gcaleka, Mr. Lawson Naidoo. Lawson, good afternoon. Welcome to today, and thank you very much for your time. Just to get some initial reaction from you, Parliament has done its part in terms of this process after the recommendation from the ad hoc committee that interviewed dozens of candidates. Gcaleka's recommendation being approved by 244 yes votes against 12 no abstentions, but there was a walkout earlier by the DA. What's your reaction to what happened in Parliament today?
Well, good afternoon, Dan. Thank you very much. As we know, the National Assembly needs to pass a resolution for the appointment of the Public Protector with a 60% majority, a special majority that is required. That amounts to 200 votes of the 400 members of the National Assembly. And today they were able to just climb above that and secure 244 votes in favor of her nomination. So it was a close vote. As you say, the members of the Democratic Alliance walked out of the sitting. Other parties such as the ACDP and the Freedom Front Plus voted against her nomination. But together with the ANC, IFP, and some of the smaller parties were able to get across that threshold and secure the nomination for Advocate Kholeka.
Yeah, so the ANC believes she's the best. They said, we chose the best. We didn't have to look for the best, standing very strongly in favor of their nomination.
You know, she was probably the best of the candidates that were there. Nobody has really, even the other parties that have opposed her nomination, have not really suggested that there was anybody else that was interviewed that would have been the preferred candidate over her. But I think the overriding thing, Dan, which we need to bear in mind, is the intense politicization of this office over a number of years. It's become a critical political tool for fighting amongst political parties and even factions within political parties, one may argue. And that politicization has probably led to a number of people who might otherwise have considered putting their hand up for a consideration for this position, not doing so. And I think that the institution is poorer for it, and there needs to be a concerted effort by Parliament, above all else, to help to restore the integrity and the profile of this office so that it is restored to its previous health, that it does have the respect of South Africans, because it is ordinary people who seek the services of the Office of the Public Protector to lay their grievances and complaints in the hope that it will be fairly investigated and assessed, and findings made on that basis, that where public officials and elected officials step out of line, they are in fact held to account.
Yeah, what would she have to do differently, you think, from what we've seen recently, to restore this pride, restore this trust in this very important Chapter 9 institution? The IFP, for example, when they contributed earlier, Lawson, I don't know if you heard, one of the points they made was they hear everything around her, they still support her because they believe it's now up to her to restore the integrity of the office.
Well, yeah, she's got a huge challenge on her hands, Dan, and no doubt about that. But she's not going to be able to achieve that on her own. Parliament needs to play its role in supporting that institution to ensure that those levels of trust and respect are restored. She's got to be able to do that, and it's a huge thing. And obviously, there's the whole issue of this Phala report that she recently issued that hovers over this whole thing, and that's really why both the DA and the EFF have opposed her nomination, because they feel that she treated President Ramaphosa with kid gloves, that she should have found him guilty and she didn't. That's an example of the politicization of that office. Now, one may agree or disagree with her on that finding on the basis of the legal arguments that she used, but she did actually put forward legal arguments to justify and substantiate the findings that she made. Now, she may ultimately be found by a court when it's taken on review to have misinterpreted the law, but I don't believe that there's any suggestion that she acted out of any sense of bias or failure to uphold the standards of ethics that are required of that office.
Yeah, my next question is a final one, but I just want to make sure you can hear me properly. Most of us, including us in the media, we tend to focus on the high-profile cases that the public protector is seized with, like the Phala farm one that has been at the center of this argument about her fitness or not to take on this new role. But the public protector's office deals with a number of other less high-profile cases, and they do it well. So when we look at the office, we need to look at it holistically, but we tend to focus on one big issue. Then we say, the whole office is being politicized. Am I asking the right question, that should we have a balanced view rather, or take a balanced view?
No, we certainly must have a much more balanced view, and it's to be expected that these high-profile cases garner the levels of media attention that they do. The politicization of these cases, not just with the Phala matter, but over recent years, under the former public protector, there were a number of highly contentious cases that went there. But you're absolutely correct, Dan, to point out that the real purpose of the Office of the Public Protector is to provide a route for access to justice for people who would not otherwise be able to use the court system, for example. What the former public protector, Thuli Madonsela, called the Gogo Dlaminis of our world, who rely on the strength of this institution to ensure that they are not badly treated by public officials and elected representatives. So it's to ordinary South Africans that this office is targeted, rather than to the well-heeled political parties who tend to take their complaints there when they lose political arguments.
Thank you very much, Lawson Naidoo, for your initial reaction to this breaking news story this afternoon. That's the Executive Secretary of KSEC. We appreciate your time.